Welcome to Third Fridays, the monthly legal talk show from Lois LLC featuring attorney Christian Seeson. This is the original forum in which real attorneys discuss workers' compensation issues, share their opinions, and engage in colorful conversations. This show showcases diverse perspectives of attorneys handling workers' comp cases, including case law trends, practical litigation strategies, and hot topics. Here's your host, Christian Seeson.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the September 2025 edition of the Third Fridays podcast. It's a very, very special one. You might remember last September's podcast was a kind of a state of the firm with
It's been a year.
Managing partner Gregory Lois. He is here today.
You only let me in here once a year, man.
Once a year. Got to showcase other people. Can't just be you all the time.
That hurts. You know, come on.
If you can't tell, guys, Greg is super excited to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's a very special one because this month marks the birthday of Lois Law Firm, a 10-year anniversary from when this firm opened on September 15th, 2015. Now, until our IT department got really good, 9/15/15 was like part of like all of my Lois passwords.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So you're opening that up to.
Yeah. But,
okay.
Since it got good and they told me I can't have the same password for everything, I felt like it was okay to share it because it's no longer my password for anything because they're going to just jump right down my neck. But yeah, by the time this airs, the firm will be 10 years and 4 days old.
Wow.
Right. So, an incredible journey for everybody here. Most importantly, you and John. So it might help everybody to take them back to 10 years ago, maybe even a little longer than 10 years ago. What was Greg Lois thinking about?
Well, you worked with me back then. You remember?
Yeah.
Was I a happy camper?
I
wasn't a happy camper. I mean, you worked with me back then.
Well, people don't leave their firms and start their own business just because they're super happy.
Yeah. No. And I mean, I told him, and I'm not going to air out anybody's dirty laundry, but I worked at a big law firm. You worked there with me. We had a lot of great people we worked with and we did a lot of great things, but I wasn't happy there. I wasn't satisfied there. And I would go home and I would tell my wife, oh, this, that, oh, I need this and I'm not getting that. And it was just complaint. And you know my wife, Natalie, she's the sweetest person in the world. She's so kind and she's
had
patient.
Enough.
And we were on a family vacation. We're in Lake George, okay? It's August of 2015. And she's like, listen, you need to shut up or put up. She goes, you either quit that job, just start your own law firm, or you need to just stop complaining to everybody. You're ruining every family vacation. You ruin all of our trips. You're constantly talking about this. You're always saying you could do it better. You're smarter than them. You have better ideas. Your clients aren't happy there. Right? I mean, I was just complaining all the time. And, you were my associate back then, right? And I always was like, no, we could do this better. And we're being held back. And we got these ideas. And, it was just frustration. So I wish I could say I started this law firm with this grand vision, but it's not true. It's just not true. It just was frustration that I said, okay, I got to try. I was also, I just turned 40, which is, it's a milestone. And you're starting to say like, okay, well, I had a bunch of little kids at home. Okay. My son was about a year old and she just, I think had enough. She goes, just do it. Right. And I was lucky because at the time I had John, who had, he's my second in command and he was my partner there at the other firm. And, I trust John a lot. John and I are not the same person. As you know, we're very different.
Perfectly not the same person.
We're complementary, not congruent. Right. So he's got a lot of skills I don't have, and I have a lot of things that he doesn't have. And he was always saying like, if you jump, man, I'm jumping with you. Like there was never a doubt in my mind about that. So, it really was a place of frustration. I don't think we had a grand plan and said, you know what, we're going to have 50 plus attorneys and 125, 135 people, however many people work here now. We're going to have this big thing that we built and we're going to have partners with podcasts and all these things. Like we didn't know that. We didn't think about that stuff. That wasn't even a twinkle in our eyes. But I think that's kind of why anniversaries are important. There's like 2 times a year that we take a second and we reflect and we go, hey, where did we come from? Where did this start? How did it start? And then I think, the anniversary is definitely one of them. And then the other thing that I'm doing now, which is it's the end of the year for us. So I'm already working into 2026.
Of course.
So we start doing the strategic planning. And that's the other time when you kind of do that look back and you start to say, okay, where did this come from and where's it going? What's our identity? And like, what do we want to accomplish next year? So those are the two things that are kind of on my heart now. So I think about 10 years ago, we started this up from the day I said, all right, that's it, I'm quitting my job, to the day we opened the doors was about 5 weeks.
Oh, wow. There was that.
It was quickly. Like 5. It was, I remember almost, I can tell you, I was on vacation in Lake George in the mid-August. And my wife was like, you need to stop complaining and just do something. I said, okay. I came back from vacation within a couple days. I went out for a drink with John. I remember this very clearly. I said, dude, I think this is it. I'm going to do it. And he's like, yeah, okay, great. John was never like, oh, should we, or maybe not, we could lose it all. Right. Cause we could.
Right.
And I said, let's just do it. And that immediately, the next thing I did is I went and found some space. I leased this space, actually, a little office space, and found a computer guy. My brother has his own business, and he's like, oh, I'll lend you my computer guy, which is Mike Sinita.
Right.
And, Mike Sinita for the first couple of years was our computer guy. I got everything set up, but Mike Sinita came in here and he set up our network, our phones, our computers. He did it all in like 2 weeks, which is kind of amazing. Right. And then September 15th, we opened the doors. I think we had been in the space for 2 or 3 weeks. This was not like a great grand plan. I hate to say that out loud. Like there wasn't this a tremendous vision. It really was like, can we do it? And then of course in the background is you can't talk to your clients. We never approached any of our clients to say, hey, I'm thinking of going somewhere. I had a sense that, hey, our clients like what we were doing, but I didn't, we couldn't talk to them in advance. So
there's never a guarantee that they would come aboard.
No, there's nothing that's not appropriate to put them in that position where they would have to feel like they'd have to choose their loyalties, right? So we never wanted to put them in that position. But of course, that's the agita because, the anxiety is like, well, we're going to start this up and like, I got some savings. John has some savings. That's it, right? I emptied my 401k, right? That was the founding money for the company. John brought some money and we looked at this and we're like, okay, between the two of us, we've got like $250,000 and like, that's like 5 or 6 weeks of payroll if we can get this thing going. That's really what we started with. And then we opened up the doors and we opened up the doors on a Tuesday. September 15th was a Tuesday.
I got a text message from you at 6 a.m. asking me if I'd like a bagel at this address.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we quit. And then we start. I came to the office, and this new office, which really was ramshackle furniture. It was computers I bought used. I bought like 20 computers used, desk chairs that our landlord gave us that were used. It was the carpet smelled. It wasn't nice, when we started up.
It was functional.
And when we started, so John said, "Listen, I'll handle the people." We're going to need people. And Greg, you go handle the clients and make sure they understand what we're doing, what the transition is and what their choices are. So I went into my office with Lauren and the two of us I'm just going down lists and I'm just calling clients and like, listen, I'm sorry to do this to you. We want to represent you in the future, but you can keep your stuff at the old firm. You can come with us. And I had hundreds of names to go through. At that point, the book of business was about $3 million roughly when we started this company. A couple hundred contacts to go through. And most of those contacts were saying things like, I don't know if I have the authority to do this. I got to go check with someone else. So the first couple of days was me just checking in like, hey, we're here. We can do this. Obviously our clients were worried, like who's going to handle the hearings in the meantime. And I would tell them, I'm like, dude, we're just going to show up for your hearings. We'll handle them and we'll figure out which firm you go with in the future.
I remember a lot of those conversations were even ones that were excited. They were like, I wish you told me about this like a long time ago so that we could start the process. But, we held to that ethical standard of,
Oh no, there were a few were really upset. One of at that time, one of the biggest clients we served was like, hey, we don't like this. We don't like this that you guys just did this without telling us first. And I said, listen, I can't, do it. And they ended up not coming, but that's life, right? That's life in the big city. But the funny thing is when I look back on 10 years ago and starting this up from nothing, like I look in my phone, which I have I still have an iPhone, which I had back then. I got hundreds of thousands of photos on my iPhone. I don't have any photos from the first week. None. Zero. Not one. None. Not until the Friday night. because I'm sitting in a room.
It was go time. It wasn't like celebration.
No, it was like boiler room. The first day I was in the room from like 9 a.m. to like probably 8 or 9 o'clock. Cause I was waiting, cause the West Coast is 3 hours behind us. So I'm still making phone calls at the end of the day. I'm talking to people all up and down the risk professional chain, talking to VPs and treasurers, like trying to explain what's going on. And so for the first 3 days, it wasn't until Thursday that one client at the time, one of our bigger referral sources said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna go with you guys, and we're gonna start sending you matters." And then it was at the afternoon of the third day, and the first client actually sent us a new matter that was addressed to Lois Law Firm, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And then I remember on that day, it took it was Thursday, so it was like I was up for like 2 days straight making these calls. And I went down to John's office and John was talking to the people and he was signing people up and being like, well, here's a W-2 and here's how we're going to pay you and here's what we're going to pay you. And we were trying to, be as fair as we could be. But it really wasn't until that Thursday that we knew we had any clients coming with us. And then at that point, from that point forward, we had a viable business that was going to flourish. And that's what's happened. Right. And so those beginnings are like, they're pretty fraught. And, everyone has a different recollection of that first week. Everyone has a different recollection of what it was like and how chaotic it was. I mean, back then, remember, the files were on paper.
Right.
So by Friday of that day and over the weekend and the next week, all of a sudden, boxes and boxes of files start getting transferred here. And, then managing all of that. And at the same time, it really did take about 30 days to sort of tell the story, reassure the client base and, make sure everyone knew that, hey, this is how we're going to handle things going forward. But I mean, they took a flyer on us. I think about that too, like from the client perspective. Hi, this is a new startup law firm and some of us and here we are over here. And they trusted, the reputation and said, hey, we know you guys and we're going to go with you. So, I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's an investment. And so, we always, you have to have that passion in you to start something. And for me, the passion came from a place of like frustration versus,
whatever works.
Give it a shot, right? Give it a shot.
So like every year, right, became this, add on into this vision.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You said you didn't have a grand vision at the time. It was built out of frustration. Maybe, do you remember a moment, a seminal, maybe it was a particular moment or perhaps 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, where you said, no, this is actually going to be a successful law firm?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it took years for us to accept the fact, well, first to get out of startup mode, right? To get out of startup mode. And I think when we did our first, real big investment as a company, and when we moved from what we were using on the time as our practice management software into the next big investment, which was, a homegrown custom all the way down to the metal solution that we're on now, right? The practice, right? That to me is like, okay, you're not a startup anymore. You've got, at that point, we'd spent hundreds of $1,000s on consultants to build out the computer system that we now have, for the last 7 years, have built the company on.
That I can't live without, honestly.
We can't live without it, right? Because it's so automated and it does so many things for us. But I think from that point on, that this has been an increasingly professionalizing organization, right? And then the things that we're about today, the vision that we rally around.
Great segue, by the way.
Yeah, and the things that we talk about, it really was us thinking and I guess reflecting on like what are our founding principles? What were the first principles of why did we do this, and then sort of putting those into words. So nowadays we talk about our values a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We talk about creativity, advocacy, professionalism, service. You talking about it a lot on your podcast. We try to bring it into as many of the conversations we have with our staff and the attorneys as we can. But before then, what did we used to tell attorneys when we were training them or when we were teaching people? We'd say, hey, what would Greg do?
Right.
We would say, right. And what was my other catchphrase? Don't embarrass the firm. Right. So like these ideas, like these basic ideas in the beginning when, we could train everybody shoulder to shoulder and we could view everybody's cases. It was just, hey, do what I would do. Right. But then as you're professionalizing, you get past 10 or 15 attorneys, then it's like, okay, and actually
like spell out and value what Greg would do.
Right. And so if every case we tell people now, if you bring creativity to it, you're not trying to get outside of the box. If you're thinking like an advocate, you're thinking about who you have to persuade. If the those two things, creativity and advocacy, are bounded or limited by your sense of professionalism and ethics, and your duty to the court and your duty to opposing counsel, and then you always have the heart of a servant, we're going to be fine, right? So it's really those values that run the place now. But it did take a couple of years, and we didn't talk about that. And now, and even simplifying the firm mission, right? If you look at old versions of our website, like, what's our mission? Like, we're a law firm that defends employers, the top 100 in the nation. And now what do we say our mission is? We defend employment. We defend employment with a capital E.
I think it was almost like we aspirational before. It was like we want to be like the go-to.
Yeah, we use the word go-to right, in our mission tag.
Like, a lot of like those like Fortune 500, Fortune top 50 or whatever it was. Now it's almost an understanding or really restatement of the fact that we actually do that. Like we don't need to be aspirational because we already do that.
Yeah, we're doing it. And it's funny because the mission, so our mission, defend employment. How do we do it? We defend employers and workers' comp cases. There's a huge need for that, right? But that's just the thing we do. I keep saying that's the thing we do. Like, what does Xerox do? They copy one piece of paper onto another piece of paper. What does Coca-Cola do? Well, they make fizzy sugar water, right? But what's the thing we do? And that's so defending employers in comp cases, like, that's just the thing we do. That's our bread and butter. That's how we, that's what we're operationalized around, and that's fine. But the bigger thing is now, and I think the rallying cry of the last few years has been, what's the vision? And the vision now is we want to be a great practice, and we have a great sense of what that means. It's reputation, it's respect, it's experience, it's giving back to the bench and bar, right? Giving away everything we're doing. I mean, we give away everything. I write the books, the handbooks on these things. We give this stuff away. We tell people how we're going to do these
Inviting clients and potentially even adversaries to our CLEs.
Exactly. Right. I mean, and they come. In the CLE we did yesterday, there was somebody on there with an AI note-taking assistant. Oh, yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was one of the best things, because I thought people were just like, I was getting these Teams notifications like, is someone not paying attention to the meeting? Like, I'm going to check this later. And it just, our IT department going back and forth with a person using AI, which is incredible. Because as we talked about last year, right? But yeah.
Just giving away everything we're doing. I mean, showing everybody what a great practice is, right? And it's funny because, today I was in a meeting with a bunch of CEOs, and they're like, I can't believe you do that. Why would you publish? I mean, my LexisNexis handbook is literally our practice pattern in New Jersey. I mean, it's identical, right? They're like, why would you do that? And I go, well, it's the same reason like why a personal trainer doesn't worried about showing you how to do sit-ups, or someone's not worried about telling you about their diet, because they know only 1% of people listening are going to actually follow the prescriptive advice, right? So I don't feel bad, or I don't feel like, we're giving away our competitive edge when we tell people what we're going to do in cases, because I know my competitors are listening, but they're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. They're never going to organize themselves around clients. They're always going to organize themselves around rainmakers. They're always going to organize themselves around quarterly bonuses. They're never going to organize themselves around their clients. And that's what we've done. I mean, that's what we've effectively done. So, that first part of that vision statement about being a great practice, like, that's something that it's aspirational, and you want it to be a little aspirational when you have a vision statement like that. And it's something that we're always going to be working towards and getting better at. I don't think we're ever going to rest. And I think you stay cutting edge. You have to keep pushing it. But I think that's a great vision statement to rally, the optimistic, aggressive, interested litigator. That's what I would practice. I want to be part of, right? And then the second part of our vision statement is to give people a great life, or permit them to have a great life, which is why we spend so much time.
Great life does flow very nicely.
Yeah, and because we want everyone that works here to actually have professional boundaries. Go golfing, spend time with your loved ones, your family, the people that actually matter to you.
Right.
Everything from, hey, we turn off our computer system on Friday nights to kick everyone out, say, just go home and have some fun, to the fact that, we have rules about you can't contact your staff before and after work hours. Like, leave them alone, let them have a life.
Right.
That stuff is all about creating some boundaries so people can go live the life they want to live with the people that they love. This is just a job. Like, I mean, look, it's great if someone's career minded and they get invested in it, but ultimately your real life is outside of this place, and we need to give people the space for that. So, I think those are the things that, we rally around now, and that we're a part of. I think it's always been in our DNA, in our culture. I think everything we've done, like, I also think like creativity, advocacy, professionalism, service, I think that also applies to the way we run the business. We've always done things different than everyone else, right? You know, sometimes we've tried stuff that didn't work because that's called being creative, you know?
Right.
I mean,
Things will, and things in the future will not work too. I think just listening to you now, I'm sure there are people that are listening to this versus like what maybe they see on social media or maybe even hear throughout their workday. And there is a lot of change that we've been through from year 0 to year 10. But hearing you talk about it actually prescribes a method to that, right? Like all the work that goes into pushing the change that's necessary for the business to grow, right? So if we're here in year 10 and we've come so far from year 0, where do you want to be in year 20? Like what does 10 years from now look like for this firm where you could, you know, like,
yeah. Okay. So let's talk about
ago.
that, because I have like a very clear vision of what I hope it turns into. I think the job of a leader, right? And at this point, I'm not an attorney. I'm a CEO. I don't get to do attorney things much anymore. I get to do CEO things. And with this,
you get tempted, but
I love it. I mean, you saw my presentation yesterday. I was just like, guys, we can have fun here. This is
much
fun.
passion about risk transfer yesterday.
I know that was a tough room too, because risk transfer, that's a tough topic.
Cool. Yeah.
That is tough. That's brutal. But like 10 years from now, like first of all, I think the vision is big enough so that 10 years from now, we're still working at it. I think 10 years from now, we're still going to be saying, we want to have a great practice and we're going to push the envelope. We're going to push the limit of what does that mean? What does it mean? And I also think we're in such a unique opportunity to do that because we are all doing the same thing here. We're all serving the same clients. We are all doing the same kind of law. This law firm is not diversified by the type of law we practice. We don't have practice groups and practice areas. We have one practice. We serve one type of client and we serve them exceedingly well. So I believe that we can really be the workers' comp defense firm that sets the bar, because we're all doing the same thing. This is not a law firm that's saying, hey, we've got 20 different practice areas and, you know, we're great because we're big. We're never going to say that. That's just not something that's important to us, right? So we do have this opportunity to be the definitional, what's the most excellent law firm defending employers in these types of cases? What does that look like? Like we are going to be, and we're always going to be working towards defining that and being that and setting the standard for that. And I know we are, right? Because I know the stuff that we talk about now and the things that we're doing in our cases now, I know that our competitors will be doing it in their cases a year or two from now.
Sure.
Our competitors have the problem of, they do have a lot of Lois attorneys at them because we have a lot of alumni, right, that work for our competitors. Right. But the problem is for them, those alumni are only as good as the last CLE that they came to here, or the last time that we mentored them, or the last time they came into an office hour here.
Muscle memory is a real thing.
It is, right? But like, what's the new stuff? Where are they inventing their next 3 things that they're going to do that are going to push the envelope in cases and drive more success for clients? Like, where is that happening? And here, I mean, we're sitting in a podcast studio that's inside of our Lois lab, right? Which is like the physical demonstration of us saying, hey, we're going to try stuff. Lois lab is a place for us to collaborate and talk about different ideas and to challenge each other. I think you said iron sharpens iron the other day, and I loved hearing you say that. I think you said that in your podcast, right?
For the mock trial podcast.
For the mock trial podcast, you said that. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like you need to have healthy conflict in here, and we need to have a safe place. Like I think your mock trial program is a place for that, right? Where we can try stuff out and see what works. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else has like an incubator within their firm that's trying things out, and they can't.
I've had adversaries actually tell me that they hate that we do that. And I was like, great.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great. Oh, I love it. Oh, it makes you sweat. Perfect. Yeah. That's great, right? And like, and why can we do it? Well, we could do it because we're 52 attorneys this morning, right? 52 attorneys all doing the same thing. It's not 52 attorneys in 10 different practice areas, and they only have 2 or 3 colleagues, right? You've got 50, comrades that are doing the same thing, appearing before the same judges, representing the same. That's an amazing opportunity. And we've chosen to diversify a different way. So we don't diversify by practice group or practice area, right? Substantive law. We diversify by client. I mean, we have clients in every market segment possible. I work really hard to make sure that our client segmentation is very diverse and represents every part of the market. Why? Well, if the the retail work goes away. Well, we've got wholesale and we've got transportation work and we've got government work to fill in those gaps, right? So that's how we're going to stay healthy and safe and grow safely, is by diversifying in a slightly different way than everyone else in the market, because they're not doing that. Maybe within the practice groups they're trying to, but they can't do it at the scale we're doing, right? So that's the great practice. I think that's the unique opportunity, and that's the place. I mean, we put a lot, I would say a third of all of our investment dollars go into the practice side of things. And when you think about that, that's improving computer systems, that's developing new technologies that we're deploying. It's in the blood and guts, making sure we have the infrastructure and facilities, right? But 2 out of every $3 of investment in this place is in training. 2 out of every $3 of what we're putting out there is in making sure everyone has great CLE classes, making sure that they have office hours. That's compensating them for going to things like case roundtables. And nobody else is doing that.
Right.
There's nothing else out there that's like that.
Mock trial is only one of the things, right?
That's
like
right.
I actually thought you were going to say diversified, like the learning process, because there's so many different avenues for an attorney or a paralegal at any experience level to get better.
Mm-hmm.
We have partners roundtabling with other partners, and it's an incredible sight to see that, people are rowing the boat in the same direction, while also saying, like, I'm never too good to not learn anything anymore.
Right.
So it's remarkable at how much buy-in there has been.
Right. And that's what you see, right? Because also behind the scenes, in the stuff that no one talks about, like, we have a whole measurement department. We call it the client success department.
Right.
It's really, we're auditing our own work. And we've got that team staffed up with 5 full-time people who do nothing but audit our own work internally. That's quality management, right? That's making sure the quality is high. There's nobody that's doing that at that scale. Absolutely no one. That's not something they're doing. But again, that's an investment in making sure, hey, you've got high quality, but also that you're finding the gaps before your adversaries do. You're finding the gaps before opposing counsel exploits them. That stuff's important, and finding the gaps in people's learning so that we can fill it in, with meaningful workshops and mock trial experiences, and maybe a podcast they could listen to, or the supports that we develop here. So those are all the things that are on our heart to, making sure we have a great practice. And again, some of them are visible and some of them are invisible. Some of them, I think competitors are going to, our trial techniques, they're going to start to copy them over time, right? But they're not able to, in my opinion, copy our training opportunities here. They're not able to copy our technology. It's just too hard to replicate.
They don't want to.
Or they don't want to, right? And they're not going to spend money on things like internal management, measurement, like auditing. They're just not going to spend those dollars. They'd rather take those dollars home, because that's what those companies are about, right? I work there. I know what it is. Yeah. So that's the great practice. And that's where I think we're just leapfrogging ahead. We're just like accelerating faster and faster. And it's going to be harder and harder especially for the diversified practices to catch up with us. I mean, it's just not the way the world's going anyway. You hurt your toe, do you go to a general urgent care, or do you go to like a podiatrist? Specialization is the future. That's what it's going to look like. And then, the other part of that is, the people side of things, and making sure that we are investing enough in our people so that they, train them so well, that
they never want to leave.
They never want to leave, but, if train them so well, they can go anywhere they want, right? I mean, that's the other side of that. And, I really strongly believe in that. I mean, my dad was a teacher and my wife was a teacher. My brother Andrew was a teacher. Like, I have the heart of a teacher. I want to give people everything that I can give them to help them be successful. But I would also say that some of these things too, like if you look at the stuff that's making everybody else in the marketplace get nervous, it's like should be making us feel better and stronger, right? Like, I'll give you a bunch of examples, but all right. So, the labor market's going down. It's a shaky job market. The job numbers come out, right? And that's in the news this week of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Like, oh, jobs are declining. Well, you and I know that's actually our business is counter-cyclical for that. So the more people get laid off or lose their jobs, generally speaking, the more workers' comp cases they file, right? Because the first thing you do when you get laid off is file a comp claim, right? Yeah. So like, that to me, like some of those broader things, and then like the impact of tariffs. Well, it doesn't really affect us. I'm sorry to say it does affect some of our clients, but from our perspective, that's not something that's going to have a big move the needle thing. The impact of tariffs on reshoring jobs. Well, I hate to tell you this, but any of those reshored jobs, in my opinion, they're not going to come back to New York or New Jersey, which are our core states that we serve. No company in their right mind is like, oh, I can't do my production overseas. I better move my company to New York, right?
Yeah.
Because New York's a nightmare for business. I mean, we defend businesses all day. And if some of my best friends said to me, hey, I'm thinking about opening a shop, I said, no, not there. You're going to reshore your company. You're going to put it in Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, anywhere but New York or New Jersey, which they're actively hostile to business. They like to torture them out of here. So I don't see a big move, but on the same token, it's not going to harm us because our economy has largely become service-based and retail-based.
Sure.
And so it's not going to be, a change for our picture. The one threat that we possibly have is the population loss that we're seeing now in New York. New York's just been a net population loser for the last few years. New Jersey as well, but to a lesser extent because everybody's leaving New York and going to Florida. And they said, enough. But the workforce size is not really diminishing as fast as the population is moving. So I don't think that's a problem for us.
Right. We still have those claims filed by people who live in different states.
Yeah, a lot of those. So, and then the last thing, the big, I would say, big strategic threat that most law firms are getting really nervous about is AI.
Right.
And they are losing their minds. As a owner of a law firm, I get 20 to 30 emails a day from vendors telling me how they're going to use AI to fix all my problems.
Right.
It's obviously nonsense. It's obviously, a lot of snake oil and just ridiculousness. And no, that's not going to happen. And AI is going to help us, right? We're going to get a great uplift from AI, I believe, because it's going to mean that we're going to be able to automate away some of the work that we don't want to do or like to do, or maybe we're not best suited to doing. When you see, we've been testing a lot of things, and when you take 1,000 pages of a PDF, and that PDF is a response from a subpoena from a hospital, and it's just a mess. It's out of order. It's not in chrono order, and some of the pages are upside down and backwards. Some of the pages are illegible.
Repetitive. Right.
It's the same physical therapy, 15 times, and you take that 1,000-page document and you throw it into the AI tool. And a minute later, it pops back out the PDF, and it's all in order, and it's indexed, and all the metadata is there, and it can even create summaries of the meta. You go, wow, okay, that is going to change the way we work. It's going to give us an opportunity to give people, I think, a better job that they're going to enjoy more.
Right.
And it's going to improve us. It's not going to replace us. There's
almost allowing them to use the CAPS values at like hyper speed.
Absolutely.
Because you're not focusing on just the minutia of how you use it. You're just getting to use it more easily, more frequently, because it's a tool that's not dispensing advice. It's just giving you the source information that you can use as a human to then put it out there for the client.
Yeah. And let us do what we're best at, which is judgment, right? Which is adding value to information, not just crunching information. And so I think that's going to be tremendous for us because we have a challenge. And this is the big challenge. Our challenge is actually meeting the market. It's developing enough capacity fast enough so we can serve our clients well. It's the challenge. I mean, our clients send us not 100 cases a month. They send us hundreds of cases a month to defend. And our challenge consistently has been finding enough attorneys and training them fast enough and having enough capacity to reach that. And one of the problems we have is like nobody goes to law school saying, I'm excited about being a workers' comp attorney.
Nobody, not one.
I didn't take a class in law school on workers' comp. Did you?
I don't think they have them.
I don't think they have them, right? Meanwhile, it's like the vast majority of litigation that goes on is workers' comp, but they never talk about it in law school. It's like this hidden thing. So we don't have like this ready pool of candidates that are coming out of law school saying like, I'm excited. Let me intern and become a workers' comp litigator, right? That's problem number one. Problem number two is our clients don't want to pay us. Okay, they want to treat us like we're commodities, pay us the lowest possible rate they can pay us, which, okay, but that means we can't pass along great salaries as starting salaries to new attorneys because they don't know anything and my clients aren't going to pay for it. Okay, so that's problem number two, right? Problem number three, workers' compensation is actually hard from the perspective of, hey, you might have 10,000 pages of medical in your case, and you got to know all that cold. You've got to draft cross-examinations based on the medical. You've got to read and compare. And so if we can offload a lot of that chore work, let's call it, right? That work to AI and have AI assist us, I think we can offer people a better job. I do. And I think that will make this job more attractive. And then the kind of person who wants to litigate like we want to litigate, I want to go into every case. I want to disrupt. I want to create leverage. I need to create momentum. And then I'm going to negotiate as hard as I can to get the fastest possible result for my client. And I can tell people that's your actual job. All this other stuff, that's not part of your job. That's going to be AI's job. But your job is going to be identify the weak point, go for the jugular, create the disruption, pursue it to the end, negotiate the settlement and get it done. That's a great job. That's a job I like doing.
Right.
It's all the other parts of the job I'm not so, psyched about. I don't wake up in the morning. I don't know about you. And I go, all right, I got a cross-examination. Yeah, I got a cross-examination to write. It's going to take me 2 hours, and it's going to take me 10 hours of prep to get ready for that
trial,
class, That's not the exciting part of what we do, So I think again, clients are going to want us for our judgment, and they're going to need us to be persuasive. Even yesterday in the CLE course I taught, I talked about, hey, this was not really about the law. It was really about controlling the tempo in 2 different courtrooms in 2 different states involving the same accident, educating the judges, and then getting everybody, all the 5 plaintiffs' attorneys that I was dealing with in those various matters to collaborate together. Okay, none of those things are like traditional legal skills, right?
It's just like putting a puzzle together, actually.
It really is, right? So like that's the fun part, and that's the person that we want to attract into the company, and that's the person that we want to train in investment, and that's the person we want to have flourish here. So I think, those strategic threats that, other organizations or companies are maybe facing, well, we're immune to that, and we're designed to be immune to that, right? We're also lucky because, and I wouldn't say lucky, but maybe it was prescient, but back in 2018, when we, designed and built our own practice management system and said, we're going to host all of this on-prem. We're going to have all the metal here. We own our own server farm. We're going to run it ourselves. We're going to serve over 100 virtual desktops. We're going to and everybody else is going to the cloud. Well, now they have a problem because they're going to have real trouble deploying AI safely in their company. And we're not. Okay, we're going to be able to run it all on-prem. That's a system that we're testing, and this is going to be a leapfrog moment for us. So when I look at what does it look like 10 years from now, I don't think the vision changes at all. I don't think it does. I think it's just going to be hey, we're going to be redefining what the great practice is. I don't think the vision in terms of the employee investment that we want to make. So, investing in making sure our employees have a great life, that's not going to change. That's definitely in my heart, and that's never going to change. And then, the values, they've never changed. The cases have changed and the clients have changed and the way we litigate's changed. I mean, we started working with me. We get to go to court in person for every single hearing, right? Nowadays, it's all virtual. It's all WebEx. That's the only way we appear in court. No one could have predicted that. I didn't predict that back then, that, this is going to go completely virtual. And by the way, it went completely virtual before COVID.
Before COVID, yeah, right? 2017.
So who would have predicted these things? But it doesn't matter. The values never changed. It's the way we litigate the case, the approach we take, the patterns and anti-patterns we teach people, that's never changed. The mechanics of it are going to change. And now the tools are going to change. And obviously the backdrop, the demographic change we're seeing, the political stuff we're seeing, the ups and downs of the broader economy. But I'll tell you this, my business grew the most. My book of business grew the most between 2008 and 2009, right at the heels of the last Great Recession, right? And so I think that, if the economy unfortunately goes south or gets worse, I'm not worried about that from the the broader strategic perspective. I mean, then I can also say the way we run the business. We've been in business 10 years. We've had no debt, 0 debt, right? The only long-term commitment we have is our leases, our lease in Manhattan, our lease here in Paramus, New Jersey. That's it. We are relatively immune if we just do what we're supposed to do. We're operationally designed to be successful. Our big challenge is alignment, getting people in alignment around the mission, get them in alignment around the vision, and then getting them to live the values. That's really that's what it's going to look like. And, that's really the challenge.
Well, what an incredible conversation. We definitely have to put an end to it.
We have a partnership dinner
right
too.
So you don't leave everybody hanging. But to everybody listening, the only Greg Lois, with a look back 10 years at Lois Law Firm and to the next 10. So happy birthday, Lois Law Firm. And for Greg Lois, my name is Christian Cison, reminding you to defend from day one.